Johnny Jordan back at you. And yes, we're about to talk about General Petraeus. It's not one of those little fake videos with the different titles and totally different subjects or anything like that. But first, I gotta get my little 30-second commercial. How to Rhyme, my book. Got the pen and water droplet effect. For anybody, poets, rappers, whoever, if you want to know anything about rhyming, here you are. Hence the subtitle, The Complete Science of Written Rhyme. Only $19.99. Okay, like I said before in the last video, each one of these videos I'm going to be reciting a poem or a rap or a flow or what have you, just so I can show you and prove to you that I know how to do all the things that I'm teaching in my book. Okay? Unlike other authors who you never see their face, you never know who they are, you never know what they know. You know, for all you know, it could have been someone else who wrote the book for them, and then they just took the credit for it, and neither of the people you can ever contact. So I'm not going to be like that. So this next poem here, actually it's going to be a rap. Last video I made a poem. This is going to be a rap. And this rap is for General Petraeus. So let me cover this up because I want you guys to listen to what I'm saying. I want you to hear the flow and be able to study, listen to, feel the rhyming schemes behind it. Alright? Oh, the Senate messed up, electing a man who mistook the land of Iraq for Afghanistan as their new director. Less of praise for Petraeus we should give him for delivering unfavorable war changes to our mayhem. Now, because of this fake man, Islamophobes are blatant. Agents are watching all the harmless Muslim patrons while saying that it makes sense while they can't even find facts. While I'm watching them watch islands, watching Muslims to buy that. But it's a crime to spy on crownless guys in front of my eyes, Jack. Cause we both see you hate the face so evilly cause lies that. Seen on TV which labels make, why don't you read so your mind grasps? The peaceful scene for ages before peaceful dean was hijacked. Then to Iraq we Al-Qaeda chase these peeps, don't know where that guy's at. But please believe we're paid to play the peace police by contract. Deceivingly our scapegoat face the theme where we can hide facts. While streamers themes what they all think while we think bottom line cash. As the TV speaks so they can think extremists be where the crime's at. So please believe Petraeus' ways won't even be on the right path. Believe me, peace for him, the CIA won't be the right task. Okay, going back to what I had said in the last video, I had asked people to leave some comments defining some of that poetic terminology that I was using in the last video. And maybe it's just because of the lack of views that video had gotten. But one thing is evident is that many people do not understand all that technical poetic terminology that's used in poetry, especially in regards to the rhyming styles. Okay? And that's all I was trying to prove by having people try to define it. You guys can go back to the last video I made. It's going to be the number that's smaller than the number that's the video that's before this one, according to the numbers. Just go back. I think this is the third video, so it's probably going to be like the second video. You can go there and you can just view it. And if you want to comment, if you think you can define some of those things without looking at the definition on the internet, by all means, be my guest. And now we're going to move into the subject of the difference. I also said I was going to define the difference between rap and poetry. Remember, this is all in regards to rhymes, so don't get sidetracked. But there's a huge difference between rap and poetry. And as I mentioned in the last video, a lot of people don't know what that difference is. It is the difference, the objective. The objective. That's the main difference between rap and poetry. You see, poetry is this huge compilation of all these different poetic styles because that's the way it came about. All throughout history, somebody came up with a new type of poem, a new style of poem, and they coined it, or somebody after they died coined that type of poetry after that person was the first person according to their history line timetable that did that type of poem. So it's just this huge collection of all these different styles of poetry. The objective of poetry is self-expression, creative self-expression, artistic self-expression, whatever you want to call it, through some specific style of poetry, or a combination of styles of poetry. Not too many. People usually don't use too many different styles of poetry in one poem, but it's usually the perfection of a style of poetry. Style of a poem. That's the objective. Self-expression through that style of poem. Rap is not concerned with the style of poem. The objective is not. The objective is self-expression, artistic, creative, whatever you want to call it, through use of the rhyme. Now, to understand that difference, you can write a poem these days and it doesn't have to rhyme, but it can still be considered a many people, one of the greatest poems ever written, or one of the greatest pieces of poetry that's ever written. It can still be considered that. It can even be considered a very skilled piece of poetry, even if it doesn't have rhymes, or if it has weak rhymes, or off-key rhymes, or rhymes that sound just whack and terrible. It can still be considered, according to poets in the Society of Poetry, Society of Poets, in the field of poetry, it can still be considered a very great piece of poetry. But in the rap world, it's not going to be considered great if your rhyme. It's not going to be considered a skilled, least of all, a skilled piece of rap if it doesn't have, if it's not a very good rap, if it doesn't have very good rhyming to it, if it doesn't have very good rhyme, specifically excessive rhyming, and you don't have a huge rhyming arsenal, you don't have a lot of different rhyming styles. If it's poor, like some poor rappers you have, they're not going to consider you a skilled rapper. Least of all, they're not going to consider that rap as anything that's skilled. They're not going to consider it like that. So it could be the greatest poem in the world, in the poetry world, but in the rap world, it's not going to be considered anything great unless it has some type of rhyme or a very good rhyme. Now, in the rap world, on the other hand, you can have a rap, right, that's one of the most creative, perfect pieces of rap ever written, all right? As long as it rhymes. That can have virtually no style of poetry to it at all. You know what I mean? So the objective is what the difference is. That's the big difference between rap and poetry. Rap uses self-expression through the use of the rhyme. Poetry is self-expression through some style or styles of poems. Alright? You're not going to get away running around talking about you got the greatest poem in the world, in the poetry world, if you just have something that just has a simple rhyme to it, or something that has like a whole lot of rhymes but doesn't really show any type of structure as far as poetry is concerned. Like, for example, you could write the tightest rhyme in the world, right? But if it doesn't make any sense at all, if it's just something that just has no sense, no logic, no reasoning to it at all, in the rap world, someone will be like, man, that rhyming scheme is really, really ill. That's really a good rhyming skill. That's one of the best rhyming schemes I've ever heard or seen. Even though it doesn't make sense, it could still be a very good piece of rap. But in the poetry world, they're gonna look at it, laugh at it, and be like, man, that's nothing. That's nothing. That's not even anything. They're not even gonna consider it something that's great in the poetry world. So the objective is different. See what I'm saying? And like I said before, if you have a piece of poem, it can have the terriblest rhyme in the world, but it can still be considered something very great in the poetry world. So it's the objective. So if anybody ever asks you what the difference between poetry and rap is, we tell them that. Alright, take care.